true.
Peter didn't have the best relationship with his family. His parents had hoped he'd take over the family store when he became an adult, but he wanted to do more with his life than sell knockoff products to cheap old people in an aging town for the rest of his days. He left his little hometown as soon as he turned 18 to go to college and didn't look back for the entire 4 years it took him to finish his education. Now, at age 20, he had a degree and a stable job, but no one to congratulate him about it. Whether it was because of the holiday spirit finally seeping in or just pure loneliness, Peter couldn't be sure. But he decided on a whim that he'd celebrate his first Thanksgiving in 4 years with the family he left. He tried to contact them first, but was met with no response when he called them with the numbers he had blocked for 4 years. Not all that was surprising, really. A lot can change in 4 years. They must have all changed their phones and contacts during that time. If he wanted to celebrate Thanksgiving with them, he would have to drop by unannounced. But before he returned to his childhood home, he went to buy 4 boxes of the fanciest chocolates he could find to add to the Thanksgiving feast his family must have been having and to act as a peace offering for the way he left them. Peter's mind raced towards a million different outcomes during the long drive back to his old hometown, accompanied only by the cheesy Thanksgiving-themed songs on his radio. Would his parents be happy to see him again? Or would they be pissed off that he dared to show his face again? What about his little brother Jim or his older sister Annie? For better or worse, he reached his destination before he could decide to back down. Standing in front of that door felt like staring into the abyss, waiting for it to blink back. A growing sense of dread kept him from knocking on the door and summoning his estranged parents back into his life. He would have turned back and drove far, far away had his mother not opened the door first. Instead of the angry scowl he was afraid he'd find on her face, she smiled at him as warmly as ever. Not knowing what to say, he blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "Hey, Mom. Welcome home, dear." There was no malice or resentment in her voice, not even a little bit. She sounded like she was just welcoming him home, the way she always did after he had a long day at school. She led him into his childhood home, and Peter followed her while fighting the tears welling up in his eyes. The dining table was already set. A massive turkey sat at the center of the table, surrounded by mashed potatoes, cornbread, cranberry sauce, and half a dozen of other traditional Thanksgiving dishes. His father, younger brother, and older sister were already seated at the table with clean plates. They were all smiling calmly, as if they'd expected him to return.
Suspicious, I'm gonna say suspicious.
There was even an empty 5th seat already set up at the table with the necessary plate and utensils for a feast. Jim ran up to him and hugged him tight. Jim had been 7 when Peter left, so he should have been 11 now, and yet his little brother didn't look a single day older than he did the day he left. "Welcome back home, Pete. Took you long enough. Come on, let's eat." The next 2 hours was the most blissful time in his life. None of his family seemed to resent him for leaving. They just brushed off the whole 4 years he spent avoiding them in favor of idle talk that made all the tension he felt before melt away. After stuffing their faces with turkey and mashed potatoes, the newly reunited family put some food on plates to eat in front of the living room television. Peter sat on the single sofa seat with a turkey leg and a wing on his plate, while the rest of the family laid back on the long couch. Back when he was little, before internet streaming became a thing, he'd spend countless hours in front of that same television, watching whatever came on with his family. Now, he was finally doing it again, though he couldn't help but feel like something was off. The annual Thanksgiving football game started playing on the TV, and Peter finally figured out what was wrong after the first few minutes of watching it. "Hey, Dad?" "Yes, son." "Isn't this the same football game that was playing 2 years ago? I could have sworn I've seen this before." "Nonsense. It's live right now. You must be imagining things." I guess." Peter was certain that he'd seen the game before, but didn't want to press the matter any further for fear of upsetting his father. It was a miracle they weren't angry with him when he suddenly showed up unannounced, and he didn't feel like pushing his luck too much. The grandfather clock that stood in the living room chimed with each passing hour. Peter could feel himself becoming more and more uneasy as time went on. The football game on the TV played out the exact same way he remembered it from 2 years ago. About halfway into the game, Peter caught a worrying scent in the air that nobody else seemed to notice. Hey, Mom? Yes, dear. Did you turn the stove off? I think I smell a gas leak. Oh, don't worry about it. I've checked. It's probably just your imagination. Or maybe your brother had too many beans again. Mom! Everyone laughed the whole thing off. Peter joined in the laughter, but only because he didn't want to bring the mood down for everyone. Somewhere near midnight, the TV switched to a news story about an incident that happened in their town. The reporter spoke from their newsroom about a family of 4 dying in their home due to a gas leak. Though he didn't reveal their names or the location of the home, it felt like some sort of omen. But his family didn't seem to pay too much attention to it. Peter was about to ask his mother to double-check the gas again when the grandfather clock struck midnight with a deafening chime. The moment it did, all of the lights in the house went out. Thinking that there was something wrong with the power, Peter pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight function. When the light illuminated the contents of the plate in his hand, he dropped it with a scream and stood up from his seat. Instead of the succulent turkey leg and wing he'd been happily snacking on for the past hour, a half-eaten dead rat laid on his plate. In his panic, he turned the light towards the couch where his family sat and immediately...
Oh, no. Oh. It's dead bodies on that couch, isn't it? Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Let's see.
His family was
Oh
there,
god.
but they were no longer the lively people he knew. Sitting on the couch were 4 decaying corpses that might have once been his family. The empty black eye sockets stared into his soul as their putrefied lips curled into sinister grins that revealed their rotting yellow teeth and the maggots wriggling in their gums. Peter's mother, or what was left of her, uttered the last words he would ever hear with a foul breath that smelled like death itself. We've been waiting for you for so long.
Okay.
You're probably like, why the fuck did you send me this?
Was he on some kind of drug the whole time he was or like it seemed like he was on something the whole time. He thought he was looking at a lively woman was a corpse. Like
I fell asleep right after watching that.
to that face, you went to sleep. Oh hell! You are not human, sir. Oh my god! I can imagine what the next one's gonna horror.